to another episode of The Real Paw Show, where artists share their heart about their passion for what they do. Take a moment to look over the episode's description to familiarize yourself with available links, as they will be mentioned throughout the podcast. And now, here's your host, Paul Bice.
Hello, y'all. Today I'm interviewing Michael. Michael tells us about his passion for music and what it does for him. I hope you enjoy. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started here.
So, just so you know, I'm from the island of Newfoundland. Newfoundland has a very Irish accent, or similar Irish accent to Ireland. There was a man over in Ireland who said, you know what, my accent's not that good. And he threw it across the sea. And a Newfoundlander picked it up and said, I'll buy it. I'll take it. And we got stuck with
it. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize that the Newfie accent was derived from the Irish accent. That's interesting to know. Now, I met Michael here on TikTok through another Newfie friend, and I looked through his content and I saw his videos and they were really good. So I instantly wanted to get him on the show because I liked his music. I liked his passion behind his videos.
And in regards to my videos, the ones that I've been putting up, actually yesterday, mentioning music to me and that you're interested and you liked my music. First of all, I'm so self-conscious that things like that just make me really excited. Just you saying that, I think I put up 5 songs yesterday.
Awesome. I love that.
Right?
That makes me so happy. I love it. Now on this show, Michael, I have 3 questions that I like to ask my guests. So the first question is, what drew you to music? The whole surrounding of that. Who drew you into music, and what was it at that time that really pulled you into it?
I was born into music, actually. So my father was an American soldier. My mother was Canadian. They married in Newfoundland. He fought in Vietnam and he got PTSD from it. He had to separate and go back to the US for, I guess, for treatments and things like that. It was better situated for him. So my mother and my sister, we moved in with my grandmother, who's from Scotland. She is a piano player. So I grew up from 7 months from then till 22 in a house with a Scottish grandmother who sang and played piano all day. In her earlier years, where I live in a town and it's 2,000 people, back in the probably 40s or 50s, she was the town entertainer at the local hotel for New Year's, and it would just be her and an upright piano. So initially, that's where, music came from. It's my grandmother, my variety of family, close cousins that sing. Some sing professionally, not television professionally, but they do it for a living. When I was about 6 years old, there's a song in Newfoundland called The Rubber Boots. I remember that my grandmother would have me sing this song to every living soul that walked into the house. Michael, sing your song, Rubber Boots. And it's just it's a Newfoundland song. It's folk. Looking back at it now, I laugh, right? But that was my first on stage in front of people, was at 6 years old. Music fairly much faded as I was a child growing up because I was focused more on running around and riding, pedal bikes. I guess we chased girls. But at 13 years old, music really came back to me I had a cousin that was living with me, my sister, my mom and my nan, and an older cousin, my mom's sister's son, who was living with us. And he was really into country music and Garth Brooks. And when I was 13, he introduced me to Garth Brooks and he said, you got to watch this concert. I totally fell in love with Garth Brooks and I idolized them. And I was like, I was singing the dance. I was singing it like in Garth Brooks's. I was singing it with just like I lived with a Texas accent all my life, or Oklahoma for Garth Brooks. You know what? I remember doing karaoke at 15. So Garth Brooks really got me started. My cousin got me into that. And then 6 months later, I got a guitar, started playing just all Garth Brooks. And at 15, I went to cadet camp here in Canada. It was one of the things. They had karaoke, and I got up and I did Garth Brooks, and I just knocked the house out at 15 years old. Music just grew. Of course, anything that makes your heart swell like that. And when you do it and you feel something, that's where this passion comes from. So from there, I would just always play guitar just around the house. I do not play anywhere locally. I liked about your podcast, it's all levels of musicians. I could go out on a stage and play if I wanted to. To me, maybe that'll become a need when I write that song. Do you know what I mean? But
Right.
right now I'm just doing covers, but I want to do those covers with justice or with feeling.
I hear that. That's very important to have feeling in the music. Have you played in public?
I have played plenty of concerts, like it was a Christmas concert. It was more of like a varieties thing. It was in a local production studio down in Argentia. They needed people to go down there and perform. I went down there and performed live their shows, a couple of shows for them. I've been on local stages here, taking part in any community. Not in a long time, but I have in the past. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like I've never sang in public, but
Right.
and the last time I've sang in public, it was the old me, that old country kind of guy.
What does music do for you? What is it that you get out of playing music or singing? What do you feel inside? What does it do for you?
It's just a release of emotion, of self. Some people can paint, some people can draw. Anything that's an art that you do, it's the emotion that you put into it. That's what I try to do in my songs. That's why I don't like to keep a song identical to what it was or where I got it from, because I like to make it, how does this song make me feel? Then pouring myself into that, it allows me to escape, to get that, that's what I needed from my music today.
Yeah. The safe place.
Yeah, that's what I needed today. When I say that the music is crying to get out of me, when I sing, I'm releasing something, but the cry has not been released, and it won't be until I finish a song I'm writing. Once I have that, that's what I want to vocalize. Music has evolved in me to where I love any song that has a meaning. So I don't care where the music comes from, as long as that music has depth to it. And for music to have depth, it's not just the lyrics, right? It's the melody. Sometimes the melody is the depth, because you can hear a song that you can put any words to and you're still going to love this song, right?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's the same thing. Like I mentioned, I come home from work, I sit down and I play. And honestly, for the release Broken Resolution that I did, it was very much the same way. Even though it was over 25 years ago, I was just sitting down and recording. And the thing about that particular piece is that I didn't know how else to handle the anger or the frustration or the sadness that was happening in my life at that point. And one of my other friends who I interviewed very, very first podcast I did, she said something that ignited this phrase that I use now, and it's music says what words cannot. And that is what I get from you as well. You put your heart and soul into putting this music out. When you say that this music is crying to get out of me, that's what I feel. That's what I hear, is that you're putting into the music what you can't speak clearly and put into a poetic way of saying it necessarily.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. When you're a creative person, man, boy, you're in trouble sometime, When you got music, though, you have a way to get some of that, because you're so creative. So many thoughts, so many, like, a lot of people be like, wow, you're so silly, man, to think of all of these thoughts, even the things you say as a joke. And I'm like, it just pops into my head. But to be able to take some of that and channel it into music is what is the yin and the yang, right? It's a little good in everything, even the bad. There's a little good in it. There it is. Helps feed me. None of my written material is online. I was just doing TikTok covers, and I'm really I think I'm still trying to develop who I am. I'm definitely not there yet. I just know that if I tried to stop, I could not stop. And if I was forced from stopping it, put somewhere where I could not touch music, I would develop a mental condition. I'm telling you, anybody that has a passion is something that's true, right? A passion think of it,
Right.
what passion means. So if something's a passion, you can't give it up. You may delay it for an amount of time, unless there's anything physically restraining me, being locked in some prison somewhere. I will do music.
Right. Passion is one of the major factors that I look for on TikTok as I scroll down the For You page. I look for the passionate music artists that they're connected with what they're playing. You see it in their eyes, you see it in their expression, you see just in their body language as they're playing. It's so healing to listen to someone who is connected like that when they play, because it's a connection with that person that you get.
Justin Fustenfeld, if you ever listen to the song Fear by Blue October, listen to him do it. Like, you lock into him and you are feeling his, if that's an empath strength that we do that, I don't know, but I really lock into him singing that, man. I can feel what he's singing. And that's why I like to portray in mine. The thing is I'm so insecure that I just don't know if, I mean, you said you seen it and you wanted to talk to me. So, I mean, that was just so uplifting. So I'm like, probably I'm doing something, but
Oh, you are. Definitely you are. And I
yeah,
mean, like I said, just the phraseology that you used when you commented about you just have this music crying to get out. It's like there's no way that someone who is not a sincere
person
artist
would
would
say it.
use that phrase.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll be right back after the break.
If you'd like to record a question or comment to possibly be aired on a future podcast, just click the message link in the description of this episode or visit the Real Paul Show podcast on Anchor FM.
If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on other listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place, and best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
If you enjoyed what you heard here, please consider supporting the podcast with a monthly contribution. To contribute, just click the link in the description of this episode or visit The Real Paul Show on Anchor FM.
Need a fresh new haircut? Check out The Shop, located in Lehigh Acres, Florida. That's The Shop, DASHOP. Check them out on Google. Welcome back to the rest of the story. Okay, so now for the third and final question of the script. Where do you see music taking you? Or where would you like it to take you?
Music is very intimate. So as long as music is always a part of me, I'll always be happy and grateful just to have it. Even if it's to sing to my kids or my grandkids or even to myself or my wife. I would, of course, with my content on TikTok, like I said, probably it's just because the algorithm is not sharing it out right or not. It makes me think almost like, God, it's bad, 100 views, 6 likes. But then I read somewhere 100 views and 4 likes is considered normal. But when people are commenting on your music, it swells you, well, your head, but in a positive way, because you could be deflated, like, oh, I'm done with music, and then you get that compliment or call like yours, like read like the interview, and then I'm like, wow, I mean, I'm better than I think, and I'm just so negative on myself, and I guess we're all our worst critics, right? So, yeah, just a boost of 5 songs there, and if people find my stuttering during this interview hilarious, and if they find the music to be listenable, if people start to, if I see those likes go up, it's obviously going to enrich me more. And the more you're enriched, the more effort you give these things, right? So
Right.
I'm not saying that it's based on likes, saying that helps you know you're doing the right thing, or it helps you understand that you're not wasting your time. The end thing is because it's a passion. In the end, if I'm getting 2 likes, I'm still going to put another video there as soon as that passion strikes me next week. So either
Right.
way, I just want music to always be a part of me, to pass it down to my kids. We have a daughter that sings, a son that sings, but he doesn't like to do it publicly, but he does it really well. The youngest, the 8-year-old, he is very much an artist in regards of art, clay figures. When I was a kid at 8 years old, that's what I was doing. Like I wanted to have to touch everything, make everything, take it apart and put it back together. It just doesn't matter what I create. If it's anything, if I'm building a house, if it's a popsicle stick house, if I'm sewing a pillowcase or making a puppet or using my voice,
Yeah.
I'm an artist. I just use various mediums at different times. Music by far is my favorite. But you'll notice yourself too that, and it's why you're the jack of all trades, is that we have a lot of things. We have a lot of these passions, I guess. There's one that's going to take up your life, like music, but we'll fluctuate between all the rest. I have a song that's done. I'll probably share it with you. I wrote it for my wife many, many years ago. Some of the lyrics, it's very basic, and the song was written very fast because it just was like, do you know what I feel when I look in your eyes? It's a feeling my loneliness is gone. Somehow I'll love you always forever. Look in my eyes and you'll see in life you are meant for me. But once it gets into the last chorus, it sort of reverts the words a little bit, and it's like, in life I'm meant for you, the way it flows. And it's just, a lot of people have
Wow.
really complimented me on that. My
Mhm.
cousin, who's a singer, she's like, I want to do that. I want to do the song you wrote at this performance tonight. I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
So yeah, so that's what I'm working on. I'll probably let you have a first listen to, maybe. We'll see.
Ah, goodness.
And that's the stuff that I want to record. That's the music I want someone to get from my music, what someone gets Justin Fuston Phil's music. My music's going to be different, but I want someone to say that, you know what, when he wrote that, I know that that's real. I just don't want no lyrics that rhyme for the sake of rhyming.
Right. And I mean, that's how a legacy is created. It's something that's true, real, and straight from the heart. If you just create music without the emotion, rarely does that become something that is left after you're gone.
Very true.
I did Broken Resolution as a podcast, the backstory of it. And I actually kind of mentioned that, like how that song brought so much emotion. And every time I played it, I would sweat, I would shake. And at the beginning of this year, I released that song. That was my first one. I did the backstory on it, and the song is also like available on Spotify, everywhere else. I'm very, very not happy with the way my voice sounds when I sing. So I'm
Oh,
working on that.
that's two of us. I put up a video, I leave it up for 30 minutes, I take it down, and then I listen to it. I have my wife listen to it, and she says, Michael, that's perfect. And I listen to it, and I materialize
Yeah,
sounds in my own head, and I take it down, and I'm very comfortable. No, good decision. Then I go
yeah,
back a week later, and I'm like, there really wasn't anything wrong with that.
exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I released Broken Resolution, and I really wasn't happy with it. But I pushed myself beyond my comfort barrier to literally solidify it out to the public. I couldn't take it back. I mean, I could, but I'm paying money to put it out there. So I put it out there, and I think it was maybe a week or two ago, I re-listened to it, and I'm like, it's not really that bad. It's not as bad as if I had made it out to be in my head the first time. I don't think it sounds professional, but it wasn't the ear bleeding sound that I thought it was whenever I first released it.
Thank you for listening to yet another episode of The Real Paul Show. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss an episode. And remember, do what you love with no regrets.